The Indiana Pacers lose their first NBA Cup game to the Atlanta Hawks, 128-108. It was a blowout from the second half on. Close there in the first half. Second half, Hawks ran away with it in the third quarter. Never looked back. Pacers really had no chance to get back in this one. Could not buy a basket. Couldn't stop the Hawks in the paint. We're going to talk about that all today on Setting the Pace. And, of course, we're going to be touching on the huge injury update that we just got from Rick Carlisle pregame. Obi Toppin going to be out to at least February 1st. So we're going to talk about that today on Setting the Pace. Not a great episode, not a lot of great news, but a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden. We are live here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Indiana Pacers fall to 0-5 on the season. They are not playing good basketball, but the best ability is availability. And once again, that is the problem for this Indiana Pacers team. Just not enough. Too many guys playing out of position. And it has been the problem this entirety of the season. Look, first game, you feel semi-healthy, really just not having TJ McConnell and Johnny Furphy. And then it keeps piling up and piling up. And we found out before the game even started that Obi Toppin is going to have surgery. It's a very lengthy medical thing, but basically he's going to be getting a screw put into his foot. And he's going to be out till at least February. So the Pacers really don't have their best backup five until maybe February. And then at that point, he's going to have to ramp things up. So it's going to be a work in progress for Obi Toppin. But if we're talking about this game specifically tonight, the key to the Pacers losing this one was points in the paint. Atlanta absolutely dominated, outscoring the Pacers 74-38 in the paint. Indiana had no resistance whatsoever for Atlanta's size, and they were able to do whatever they wanted. And it looked early on like the Pacers, they might actually be in this game. They might actually win it. They were up 18-6 within the first 6 minutes of the game. They got absolutely blown out after that. They only scored 90 points the final 42 minutes of the game. So this was one of those things where you're wondering, what can the Pacers do to fix things? And it's hopefully getting guys back. It seems like Johnny Furphy's getting closer, and then maybe the next closest guy after that could it be Andrew Nembhard. We haven't heard much more about him, but he has been out here on the court shooting before the games. Haven't seen Ben Mathurin or anybody else, TJ McConnell, doing any court work yet. So hopefully you can get Andrew back within the next week or two. I don't know, but at this point, it seems like Furphy could be the next man that comes back from the injury report, and hopefully nobody else goes to it. Now, in this game, the Pacers were right there at the end of the first half. They were only down by 4 points. Thought things, might go their way, might have a chance to pull this one out. But the start to the third quarter was absolutely abysmal. Indiana at 1 point, 7 minutes into the quarter, had scored just 5 points, and they were 2 of 18, which is 11% from the field. Pascal Siakam got fouled. He had a free throw to kind of break the Pacers' inability to score. And then Quentin Jackson and Jarris Walker hit some threes to give the Pacers 17 points in that third quarter. But I thought to myself, and I looked over at Dustin Dopirak from the start, and I was like, the least amount of points the Pacers have ever scored in a quarter is 8. The least amount in the NBA is 5. So I was thinking, could the Pacers have their lowest scoring total points ever in a quarter? It was actually a possibility. So I was just really disappointed with the Pacers fighting this one. They had no answer for the size that Atlanta provided in this game. They're very good. Atlanta is a very good team, and they're a little bit different without Trae Young. I actually think they might be a better defensive team without Trae Young. We know what Trae Young brings offensively. The Hawks were still able to get 128 points up on the board without Trae Young, and they were able to be a little bit more defensive-minded with Nickeil Alexander-Walker starting instead of Trae. Obviously, Dyson Daniels, he was pretty good in this game, but, Nickeil Alexander-Walker was a plus 17 for 21 points. He had 3 assists. To me, the guy that really changed a lot for the Hawks was Jalen Johnson. He had 22 points and 9 of 16 shooting, 13 rebounds, 8 assists. Like, this is a guy that was going to be an all-star before he got hurt last year. So they were really, really good. But the entire starting five for your Hawks outside of Zachary Ricochet shot over 50% or 50% or greater. So, yeah, actually over 50% or greater. Kristaps Porzingis shot 6 of 12. Dyson Daniels 8 of 13. Nah was 8 of 14. Jalen Johnson 9 of 16. Ricochet was 5 of 12. Okay, so not a great showing from him. But look at the Pacers scoring here. They had 2 players that shot 50% or greater. Quentin Jackson was 4 of 8 for 15 points, and Isaiah Jackson was 4 of 7 for 9 points. Both of those guys were a positive in this game. +8 for Ijax and a +6 for QJax. So unless your last name was Jackson for the Pacers, it was not your night. So Aaron Nesmith, it felt like he was getting off to a better start there in the first half, and then finishes with another poor shooting performance in terms of percentage-wise, just 3 of 11, 2 of 8 from 3. Pascal, 5 of 15 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3. He did a 5 rebounds as well and 5 assists. They're just basically asking Pascal to do too much, and at some point he's probably going to run out of gas, but he's doing everything that he can. He still played 30 minutes tonight, and he played 20 minutes in the first half. So they're really trying to ride heavy on Pascal because they don't have a lot of options and a lot of creators, but that's where this team's at. Ray J. Dennis, he played 25 minutes off the bench tonight. In the first half, he was 0 of 7, ends up going 3 of 7 in the second half, so he looks a little bit better, 3 of 14 from the field. He's a -26 in the game. Jay Huff, -18, 8 points. 8 points and 6 rebounds, and 5 of those were offensive rebounds. So, Jay Huff has just been one of those centers for me that I understand the idea of Jay Huff is exciting, but the actuality of Jay Huff, we're still waiting to see it. So it's going to be a work in progress, and I think a lot of this comes down to not having your guards, not having your playmakers available to get those guys looks. Ben Shepherd, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. I saw a stat on Twitter. I think he's one of his last 17 attempts this year from 3. To me, it's like, is he generating good looks? I think some of them are good looks. I don't think all of them are perfect looks, but for the most part, he's getting open threes. They're just not falling, and he needs to be able to start hitting those to help this team win. And honestly, Mac McClung was probably one of your more positive people off the bench. 12 points on 12 shots, only played 19 minutes, and a lot of that was garbage time. I think actually the majority of it was 12 minutes of that was garbage time, but he had 6 shots in the first half when he came in. So, you kind of need him to give you a little bit of something. Like, they don't have much, right? So that's the problem there. And then when it comes to Talon Peter, he was able to come back from his injury tonight, but he didn't play anything but garbage time. So he was technically available, but the Pacers decided probably not the right time to give him a lot of minutes because they don't want to maybe re-aggravate that groin injury. So this is one of those ones where you could probably just chalk it up and move on. You got a game tomorrow against Golden State. I'll be recapping it here as well. So I know, Pacer Nation, this is tough. It's tough to go from being in Game 7 of the NBA Finals to being 0-5 without half your roster, and you're trying to figure out what in the heck is this team going to look like. And I think at this point, the front office, coaching staff, they don't really know what else to do with this group because it is limited with talent, and that's not a knock on any of these guys. These guys are talented enough to be in the NBA, but they're being asked to do what they're probably asked to, they're definitely being asked to do stuff that they're not normally supposed to be doing. Like, guys are playing 30 minutes when they should be playing 12, right? And so it's just a hard balance. You need your dynamic ball handlers. The moment T.J. McConnell went down against Minnesota, I knew there was going to be some struggles here because T.J. McConnell is the glue that holds a lot of this stuff together for these different units. And with Andrew being potentially healthy with the starting 5 and TJ being healthy with the bench, I kind of felt good about it. I was like, you know what? They can figure things out. And look, in 3 of the 5 games they played, they could have won. They got blown out against Memphis. They got blown out against Atlanta. I think a lot of that's matchup dependent and who the Pacers currently have on the roster. But you got to remember, like, they were in that Memphis game until Mathurin went down. So, no update on Mathurin, no update on Nembhard, not a whole lot of update on TJ either. So, or Cam Jones. It's just, obviously this list is piling up, and you don't know what to think. But for this game overall, I will say one of the positives here was the offensive rebounding, specifically in that first half. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Jay Huff had 5 of those offensive rebounds, but so did Isaiah Jackson. He had 5 offensive rebounds, 6 defensive rebounds. It's a point of emphasis for this Pacers team as they try to mask some of the holes they have. It's let's crash the glass hard and be aggressive with it. And they did a good job of that. They had 18 offensive rebounds, but it only generated 22 second chance points. 22 second chance points on 22 shots. So not a great percentage, 33%, around there for your second chance shot opportunities. And those were good looks. A lot of their better looks to me came off of those offensive rebounds where a Huff would tip it out or an Ijax would tip it out, and maybe they'd swing the ball one way, ball fake, and okay, here's a Mac McClung 3 or an Aaron Nesmith 3, which like I said, Aaron played pretty well in the first half. Like, I was really impressed. I was glad he got some shots to go in, and people were excited. But yeah, just tough overall. And the Pacers, once again, go with a different starting five to start the game out. Isaiah Jackson still your five, but Ben Shepherd to the bench. Quentin Jackson comes into the game and starts and plays 22 minutes. So Ray J still ended up playing more than Q-Jacks, but you can't really look at the fourth quarter as anything. The Pacers at that point basically had surrendered what they were considering their lineup when they were down by 18, 20 points early on. So, yeah, just difficult. When you give up 30 points in every single quarter, you're not going to win basketball games. So when talking to Rick Carlisle after the game, asking him his thoughts on what went wrong after you got off to such a hot start, a lot of it just came down to not playing with enough aggression, not being aggressive enough, not playing with enough force. And, they got a better chance. They got a chance to be better tomorrow. But look who's coming in tomorrow. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler. That's who's coming in. And they're coming in off of a loss to a Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks team. So they're obviously going to be looking for a chance to get some points up. And we know Steph has gone off in this building several times. And who is going to be guarding Steph? You're telling me Quentin Jackson, Ray J. Dennis, Ben Shepherd? Like, you don't have Andrew Nembhard to throw at him, who has had success against Steph or has at least played and matched the level of intensity with his offensive output that he's had against Golden State, especially on the road. So, it's going to be interesting. Who's going to guard Jimmy Butler? Is this going to be a Pascal on Jimmy Butler kind of game, or is it going to be a game where you put Jarris on him and maybe you go a little bit smaller, knowing they could play Draymond at the 5 at times, and you play Jarris and Pascal together with Ben Shepherd, Aaron Nesmith, and then whether it's Quentin, Ray J, whoever, just trying to kind of throw some different combinations out there. But the center rotation, it is rough, guys. It is not me being a hater. I appreciate people on Twitter saying that I am the biggest J Huff hater out there. Look, if there's people in this world that hate J Huff, that's on them. I don't think J Huff qualifies as a good enough player to have haters. I would just say I've not been impressed. He looks out of shape. He doesn't get off the ground to get rebounds. He is very flat-footed. He'll tip the ball out. He's hustling more. He's shooting a little bit more, with more aggression, I should say. Not holding back, like taking some shots that maybe he shouldn't take. Like he shot 1 3 that just smacked off the backboard. It was not a great look. It was not a great shot attempt from him. So tough game. But this is the Obi Toppin news was a little bit of a surprise. Did not expect him to be this severely injured. But it is going to open up a door and a window of opportunity for 2 young players that fans love, and that's Jarris Walker and that's Johnny Furphy. When Johnny Furphy gets back, this is going to be a huge year for him to get that development in and figure things out. And then, of course, Jarris is going to be asked to do more. And I know Carlisle talked about this in the post-game press conference, that you got to find that right balance, because right now you need him to be more of an initiator and more of a scorer, but you don't want him just forcing to force. And so he's got to find that right balance of how much he's supposed to impact the game overall. And you understand why, like as a young player, like a lot ask of him to do offensively, and then defensively on the other end, having to guard some of the other better wings as well. So it's going to be a great learning experience for them. And I think that's one takeaway you can have is like, look, win or lose, this is good experience for these young players. And we know Pascal can do Pascal things, and did not have a great shooting night overall, but still led the team with 18 points, still led the team in minutes, still is just doing everything for this team, led this team in assists with Ray J once again. So he is a do-it-all kind of player right now, and the Pacers are relying too much on Siakam. And I know Caitlin Cooper wrote a great article about how the Pacers are overusing him. So at this point, it's you kind of just got to deal with what you got. You're dealt a crappy hand. Can you bluff enough? Can you pull a win out? It's going to be pretty tough. It is going to be pretty tough. And your next 2 opponents are teams that are playoff bound, and Golden State and Milwaukee on Monday. Giannis is questionable for Saturday's game. I don't know who the Bucks are playing Saturday, but he is questionable for that game. So we'll be interested to see if he actually plays in Monday's game. But it would be nice if Andrew Nembhard could potentially be healthy for that Monday game. And it's a new month. Maybe that's what the Pacers needed to do, was just close the chapter in October. It is the month of November. It's the month of thanks. Let's give thanks and maybe find some positive light at the end of the tunnel for this group. So I know Pacer fans are probably not excited to hear game recaps when you get blown out by 20 points and your team is 0-5 and everybody that you love is not playing on the court outside of some of your favorites like Siakam and Nesmith and maybe Jarris, but and Shepherd, a lot of players that were in the rotation last year for the playoffs, they're sitting in street clothes. And that is expected. The losses are expected when that's the case. So I'm probably saying the same thing over and over and over again, but Pacer Nation, just hold on tight. This team is not as bad as their record says it is. It's just the players they have available are being asked to do too much. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope you all have a wonderful Friday night, Saturday morning, whenever you're listening to this. We'll be back tomorrow, like I said, to recap the game against the Golden State Warriors. And we'll jump into all of that after the game here live at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this setup, and we'll try to keep it coming. Facci will be joining me, I believe, Monday night live here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I'll be here. Facci will be at his house, but we're going to be talking about that game and what we see in Miles' return. I know there's a lot of drama around that, so at least that's something to look forward to with the season being so bleak right now. But I do appreciate everybody that's tuning into this video, who's tuning into this audio podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please leave us a 5-star rating review. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give us a like on this video, and leave us a comment in the comment section of what you're thinking about this Pacers team. So until then, Pacer Nation, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.